When I looked around the room in the organisations that I worked in, there wasn't a lot of female representation on boards, and it intrigued me. And I always thought, how can organisations be influencing strategy when there's not a fair representation on the board? We need to have diverse mindsets and experiences. And so where boards can really tap into entrepreneurial mindsets, diverse thinking, diverse perspectives, it adds enormous value to organisations. It forces them to think outside the box, it challenges the status quo, and it's those conversations that really deliver value to organisations. And I guess from my perspective, the organisations really need to be up for that. I think the increase of women on boards actually brings about better governance. And the reason why I say that is because you've got fair representation, you've got greater diversity, and not necessarily just gender diversity. I've been part of and am part of boards that are very clear that they have a mandate to increase the female representation. So I'm really proud to be part of those organisations that recognise the difference that women can bring to the board room. And I think that's the type of dynamic that boards really appreciate and value. And if we just think about the last couple of years around the uncertainty that has, been introduced as a result of the pandemic, boards have had to think differently. They've had to do things differently. I think, if anything, what we've learnt over the last couple of years, we need to be more nimble. We need to be more entrepreneurial in our thinking. They need to be, prepared to have those types of conversations. So, I recognise that, and for me, when I'm thinking about my board career and my portfolio of directorships, I certainly gravitate towards the organisations that share my drive for an entrepreneurial spirit, that are chasing growth aspirations and agendas, that are challenging the status quo. I think the most important advice that I could offer, another woman contemplating a career as a professional director is to tap into your stores of resilience and persistence. It's not a sprint, it's a marathon. Make sure you've got a support network around you every step of the way. And I guess the other aspect is plan your career, build yourself a runway. It takes measure and pace. And for you to stay inspired and motivated, you just have to pace yourself. In building my portfolio, I've been quite considered in relation to not only the types of boards that I want to serve on, so whether they're advisory or governance boards, but also the types of organisations. I came from a diverse background as an executive. I worked in retail, worked in commercialisation of data, logistics, services, product marketing, financial services. I've consulted to ASX 100 companies around strategy and change process. I feel very fortunate because I've got what I consider the two bookends. I've got the traditional mature businesses that are quite large. They have incredible revenue turnover. They have very large employee bases. They're quite complex and they operate in fast-paced and dynamic environments, but they're mature. And so they're looking for ways in which, how else do we grow? So that's through acquisitions, that's through, innovation, new product lines. And then I've got at the other end of the spectrum, early stage businesses. And what I love about that is that they want to be at the other end of the spectrum where the mature businesses are. And the mature businesses want to, cherry pick the opportunities around the early stage businesses and bring some of that innovative thinking, that entrepreneurial spirit into their businesses. That's an aspiration. Certainly an aspiration that I'd like to see as the opportunity for more women to serve on boards, because I've lived and I've been a beneficiary of having more women on board. So I see the value that it brings to organisations. Much of the conversation has been around gender diversity, but the conversations that I would like to be having at a board table is really around the makeup of the board in relation to industry experience, work experience, different perspectives, different age groups represented. Organisations really, have got the great opportunity in the way that they design the composition of their boards to tap into diverse experiences, diverse thinking. And I think that's really what's going to take boards forward in the future.